and then I'll turn up y'all's volume, and we will
Just slap the THX logo on there.
get... Yeah. No. I might get copyrighted for that. It doesn't really matter because we don't put ads on our videos anyway. But...
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And we are at the Inn of Planar Crossroads this time. Last time on Black Dragon Gaming's channel, which we just posted up, it was delayed getting up because YouTube was acting weird with my uploads to get to Tommy, so... I don't know. But it's been taken care of. Now, for our disclaimer that happens with every video... This is an adult podcast featuring adults that sometimes use adult language. Some of them, you have been warned.
Thanks, Dad.
The Pathfather has spoken.
He gets a little quicker with it every time.
Yeah. He's going to be... He's just going to make a noise eventually, and we'll all be like, yeah, yeah.
I mean, our language is not so bad compared to other channels when it came to adult language.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can be worse. Yeah.
Some people exercise a bit more control over themselves than other channels. That's all. That's all. As far as that goes, speaking of our channels, both the Black Dragon Gaming channel and the Inn of Planar Crossroads have their Patreons running. So if you would like to, you can check down in the doobly-doo for those links. We will let Tommy do an announcement of his own about that soon. Let's finish up the current one. So, this time, we're talking about some of our favorite creatures from CR17, 18, and 19. We're doing that because there's not a whole lot in these particular ones. So we're going to pick 3 this time, 1 from each this time, and then we'll cover everything 20 and above next time. And we'll each get 2, maybe 3 creatures from that pool of selection to highlight. So that'll be what's happening. But it's CR17, 18, and 19 this time. Our next subscriber appreciation one-shot for the Inn of Planar Crossroads is going to be at 200. Speaking of which, we will be getting all of the videos up, all the podcast portions up of our last one at 100 pretty soon. So hopefully that will work out well. But 200 is when our next one is. Colin will be running it. Monthly giveaway this time is going to be a Vivek statuette. It's actually no. We've come over into a new month, so the Vivek statuette will be given away to one of our patrons soon. I don't know which yet, because it snuck up on me there. I didn't realize it when it hit on Sunday that I needed to do that. So I will announce a winner later. We'll contact them. But the Vivek statuette is getting done and given away. The new series, no new series is coming up, but you can keep up with Adonijah's game. We have another one ready in the queue to be put out. It will probably be this Friday or next Friday, depending on if we want to go ahead and get that one-shot out. I think we'll probably get the one-shot out first before we release the third one of Addie's game. We're all going to be at the St. Louis Comic-Con. Well, myself, Kane, Joe, and Tommy that are here right now will be at the Comic-Con, as well as Colin. I don't think Greg's going to make it, but he might. I don't know. It depends a lot on his school. So, we'll just have to see. And that's all the announcements that we have. Tommy, do you have any announcements that you want to get into before we start up?
Oh, I do. As I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, our Doomsday Dawn giveaway is live over at my channel. It's come to the point where last time I checked, I'm just like a smidge over 800 subscribers, and we started our giveaways at 53 subs, and every time we double the subscriber count, there'd be another giveaway. I'm pretty sure the second giveaway is going to hit long before this giveaway ends, so that I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, to tell you the truth. I guess we'll figure it out. But if we can get our Patreon up to like $150 a month, basically just enough for me to get a day off work, and we're at like, I think I'm at 49 right now. I got a 6th patron over the weekend. If we can get up to like $150, I'll take a day off, and then I'll run 6 of my subscribers through the first ever published 2nd edition Pathfinder material, which I'm super stoked for. I'm sure Adam will throw the link to the video in the doobly-doo. And yeah, I don't need to take up a whole bunch of time with like more like notifications and stuff. Let's dive in, shall we? I'm super stoked.
Okie dokie. So, since it's this channel, we will see who goes first with the die roll. 6 people this time, so it's an even D6. Joe is first. So, here we go, Joe.
Yeah. My CR17, I'll go quickly. Well, I'll go as quick as I need to be. I've used him a lot. Frankly, I've only used him for one of his abilities, but it's the Kekatar, the Protean. I really like Proteans because they have this nifty thing called a Warp Wave, which I'll talk about in a second. The Kekatar, I think, is one of the strongest ones he's found in the 2nd bestiary. So he's like one of the strongest ones you find in the beginning, though there are stronger ones in like 5 and 6. So he's an outsider. He's chaotic neutral. He's not evil, but he is neutral, so you can make him be evil if you want to. Blind sense, dark vision, pretty nice perception. He has a pretty great AC. I mean, really, it starts to like plateau when it gets to this CR. Like they start to just go up by 1 or 2 every CR instead of like it feels like 3 or 4 nowadays, or like nowadays. As you move through the CRs. So at AC 32, a touch of 14, a flat foot of 27, that's pretty good. He also has amorphous anatomy, so he can't be crit or sneak attacked. He's kind of like a, well, no, you can crit him. He can't be sneak attacked. It's nice. He has DR 15 over lawful, and he has freedom of movement, so he can't be grappled. He's immune to acid and polymorph effects, again, because of the amorphous anatomy. His fortitude and will saves are amazing. His reflex save isn't that great, but he has fast healing 10, so your reflex save things really aren't that effective because of that fast healing. He has fly speed that's perfect, and he has a swim and a speed on the ground that's 40. All 3 of his move speeds are 40. Now, all of his attacks, like, his attacks are all pretty good. Like, they're probably going to hit characters who aren't super duper optimized. But he gets warp wave effects, which I'll talk about at the end here. So he has a space of 10 or 10. He has a constrict, which he gets on his tail slap after he grabs you. He has constant detect law and tongues, so he'll find your paladins. At will, he can do the chaotic version of fireball. Greater is a spell magic. Teleport, greater, which is just himself plus 50 pounds of whatever. He has major creation, move earth, and shatter at will. And then 3 times a day he has confusion, quicken speed, dispel law, empowered chaos hammer, and a polymorph any object. So he's kind of fun to mess with people and stuff. I'll talk about that when we talk about encounters. Disintegrate prismatic rare and reshape reality, which reshape reality is one of its abilities, but it's treated like a spell like. His stats, all of his stats are below 30, so he's not that super powerful in his stats. He's just really good with other things. His feats, he's built correctly because he's above CR13. His skills, they're all pretty good. They're like, there's nothing special about him, but they're all pretty good. His languages, he has telepathy at 100 feet. He has abyssal and protean, but he has constant tongues. I don't know why they don't put that down. Yeah, that's something to keep in mind. It says he can speak abyssal and protean and then nothing else, but he actually has tongues. He can change shape, which I'm not sure if that's exactly put out, but he can actually make himself, he can actually greater polymorph himself into whatever he wants. That's not put in his special abilities, but it is a special quality. Um, so reshape reality. So basically, he can make illusion, like Mirage Arcana, heightened to 9th level. They are quasi real, like those created by Shadow Conjuration. His illusions. A creature that interacts with them must make a DC 26 will save. This can be upped, I think, by him. I'm not sure. Let's say. Can make a quasi real terrain, so he can change things around, which is pretty good. So, and he can make dangerous terrain. So dangerous terrain can exceed 5 d6 points of damage per round. So he can make things that like damage you in those terrains, and unless you succeed on the will save, you don't realize that's like an illusion. You still take damage from it, even if you do, I believe. Yeah, you can break things. You get the ability to break things because they have 20% normal hardness. So have fun with math. He has a thing. He has an aura around himself, so it's a spatial riptide. Any non-protean teleporting into or out of his aura must make a fortitude save at DC 28, or enter a state of suspended animation identical to temporal states for 1d3 rounds. Success means that you're throwing up for 1 round. You're nauseated. If you can up it there. And then Warp Wave. This is a thing I used all the time. So you roll a d20 after you make a DC 28 Warp Wave and be affected by this thing called a Warp Wave. So you roll and it does a random effect. So like rolling a 1 on a d20, you take 2 strength damage. A 2 is 2 dex, 2 con. On a 3, 4 is 2 intelligence. 5 is 2 wisdom. 6 is 2 charisma. 7 is you take a negative level. Most of them are negative, like you become entangled, you become fatigued. A couple of them, like target gains 46 temporary heal points. Target is affected by a heal spell. 16 and 17 are like okay, like those are good things for you. 18 is your turn to stone, which he can cast Shatter at will. So it's not good. And then 19, you're affected by a polymorph, and then 20, you take damage of 46, appropriate to a random type of energy, so like electricity, fire.
Yeah, 18 and 19
yeah,
seem
these
way
guys-
worse than 20.
Yeah, no, they are. Oh God. I mean, my favorite was turning people to stone. That was my favorite thing to do. Now, my CR18 to talk about. Let me see. Get back to it, please. So CR18, I've never used him before, but I like him. He's kind of flavorful. So is the Earl King. I know I said so. He's a neutral, chaotic neutral, so paladins have fun. He has an AC of 34, so he's 2 higher than the Kekatar. He has fast healing 10. His flat footed is 9. I don't know why I said his fast healing. I'm just reading things. His flat foot is 29. That's pretty good. He has fast healing of 10. Like I said, his good. The rest of his, like his fortitude and will save, are good, but they're not like, ooh, amazing. He has a protection from good and law. And he's a fey creature, so his DR over cold iron. He's immune to poison, and he resists 30 acid, cold, and electricity. His speed is incredible. So if you want to chase people down, it's just amazing. He has a speed of 70 feet on the ground, and he has a fly speed good of 90 feet. He has a +3 keen iron long iron. Plus 20, plus 20, plus 15, and it's 1d8 plus 12, and it crits 17 times 20 plus amount of bleed damage. And then he has a +3 ironwood longbow, which is also plus 20, plus 20, plus 15, and it's 1d8 plus 3 times 3 plus bleed. And he has a bleed attack, which is 1d6 bleed. he has a favorite enemy, all humanoids, +10, which is just kind of crazy. Any humanoid, he's going to hunt him down. He has Ironwood Mastery, which second. So he has constant blur, he has constant haste on himself, he has constant pro-evil, pro-law, speak with animals, and speak with plants. At will, he can cast Whispering Wind, which I mean, like, let's talk about that for a second. Come on. He also has 3 times a day animate plants, black tentacles, cure critical wounds, and I'll talk about a few more of those in a second. So, Whispering Wind, he can send messages at will, essentially, along the wind. It's not amazing. So his spells really aren't that much to write home about when that was not as good as the Kekatar. But his 3 times haste, Ironwood, move Earth, plant growth, summon nature's ally. He can summon 1d4 plus 1 centaurs or 1 tree end, and it's 100%. He has tree stride as well as trees. Once per day, he has Figure of Death at DC 23, Repel Mineral Stone, or Summon Nature's Ally 9. Is it? Can you hear me?
All right on mine, anyway.
Yeah, you're good.
I can hear you fine, but your camera's frozen.
Not over here.
I hear you just fine. It's just your
Blame Canada. Blame Canada.
it is just it
Man,
is just your
fucking-
camera cut in and out at times.
Yeah, our internet's even worse than yours.
Okay.
Oh, that's tough.
So, again, his stats, they're all below 30. He has a BAB of 10, CMD plus 15, CMD of 33. So he's not that great at grabbing things. He's kind of terrible. Feats, again, he doesn't have, I don't see combat reflexes. I don't know why he doesn't have combat reflexes. You should probably add that, take away something stupid from him. Like,
With the dex of
Disruptive.
25, you need some combat reflexes.
His skills, he has a lot of skills. He has a lot of knowledge stuff. He has ride. So he can do some pretty amazing things with his skills. And then he has speak with animals, speak with plants, has his languages. So, I mean, he's pretty good for that. So you can, again, Ironwood Mastery is one of his special abilities. Any Ironwood armor he wears gains +3, and any weapon he wields gains a +3, and his treat is cold iron. So that's alright. So you can give him whatever you want. And then he has, for the purpose of abilities and effects and feats and stuff, he is treated like a 20th level fighter from Warrior Fate, which is pretty good. So you can customize him pretty easily to change up some of his stuff, make him a little bit scarier. And that's the Earl King. And then CR19. Come on. CR19. Okay. Alright, so I talked about Clockworks earlier. This is the creme de la creme of Clockworks. This is the Clockwork Goliath. Starting off, it has an AC of 35. It's a Clockwork. Everything that we talked about previously applies. He has a 15 because he's gargantuan, which is actually better than a lot of things. And he has a flat foot of 28. So his armor is actually really well broken down, his armor class. He has a +5 to dex, which is crazy. Like, he basically, his dex already negs out his neg for his size. He has +2 dodge and +22 natural armor. So he has DR15 over adamantine. He has construct traits. His fortitude, reflex, and will saves are whatever. He has vulnerability to electricity, everything that a Clockwork entails. His melee, so he has these fists that are like confounding or something. For some reason, his description, they're like, everyone's confused by his hands. The exact nature of a Clockwork Goliath's hands varies. They all resolve as slam attacks in melee combat, though. No, whatever. we don't know why people are confused by hands, but it's whatever. So
Maybe
go ahead.
maybe he has Powerpuff Girl hands. You know, maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, no hands.
We don't speak of those here. The gross little.
So
goings
he
on.
has a speed on the ground of 40 feet, which is faster than most. He has Force Slam plus 41, which is 3d6 plus 17. And then he has a cannon, like the cannon golem, except he can shoot it 4 times for some reason in a round. Plus 29, 4 plus 19 plus 14, 66. It's times 4 critical. What? He has a Gatling gun strapped to his chest. Eat shit. He has a space to reach at 20 feet, and he, like all high-level clockwork constructs, he has self-destruction. Then he has a trample ability for when he rolls over things. His strength is 5, which is really high. It's god tier strength. His BAB 28, CMB 49 watts, CMD 66. He cannot be his feats. He's a construct, so all clockworks, all constructs, they don't get every feat, but all clockworks get improved initiative and lightning reflexes. So this guy gets an initiative of +9. And then again, he has swift reactions and blinding, which I think is in clockwork that we've talked about before. So again, about his cannon. So one of his arms is a cannon. It has a range of 100 feet. It deals 66. It can hold 12 cannonballs. Reloading 1 is a standard action. It can shoot 4 times. That's pretty good. And then whenever he reaches less than 21 but more than 0, on his next turn, he deals 24d6 worth of damage to all creatures within a 20-foot burst radius, and a DC 24 reflex save to halve the damage. And half of this is slashing, half of this is burning, which is just crazy. When he gets to the oh shit moment, he just boom. Talked about this guy kind of controls people who are like your ranged characters have no from his can, and then the people who are wailing on him up close, they don't, because if they fail that reflex damage or that reflex save, they're getting 24d6 of damage, and they're in a terrible day. And yeah, that's all about my 17, 18, and 18 picks.
Okie dokie. So that's 17, 18, 19. Now we re-roll. So, it's Kane.
That is me.
That is me.
All right.
Yes. Okay.
That is me. Or CR17 and a half, the Wendigo. Which is, I'm sure most people already know what the Wendigo is, especially if you've played video games recently, because they feature in probably like a couple video games actually in the last couple of years, like Until Dawn and others whose name is escaped me at the moment.
Though
but
I do
it's a
prefer
creature from.
I prefer the look of the one in Pathfinder over the one in Until Dawn.
Yeah, well, the thing is that like basically all over North America and Canada, like because it's a creature from Native American folklore, every different like section of the country had a different version of it, and like one version is like as tall as a tree and gigantic, and the other version kind of looks like the one from Until Dawn, and then like yet another one looks almost exactly like the one that's in the Pathfinder book, is like this elk-headed man with stumps for feet or bloody stumps for legs, and they're all in essence the same monster. They have basically the same name, whether it be like Wendigo or Wendigo or Wendigo or something like that. They're what happens to a person who results to cannibalism to survive the winter in the traditional lore. But in Pathfinder, they're native outsiders that can turn people into other Wendigos, but when they make other Wendigos, they're actually making an entirely new creature, because they mention in the entry that you can resurrect a person, or use miracle or wish to bring back a person to the way they were before they turned into a Wendigo, but that doesn't kill the Wendigo that was made when they died. Ooh, what was that?
Wait, that
Don't know.
sort of
The-
remind me. That sort of remind me of werewolf curses. If you kill a creature that had the curse, you need to still remove the curse on them.
Mm-hmm. So, Wendigos really aren't impressive fighters. They don't have combat reflexes. They don't have like awesome blow, even though they qualify for it. They don't have. I don't even think they have power attack. I don't see it here. And they're really not there to, roll up on you and push your teeth in, because like even if they hit you, their bites and claws do like 2d6 plus 9, so they're doing less damage in a full round than a fighter of half its level, even with its rend. The rend is a little bit more impressive because it's 1d8 plus 13 plus 46 cold damage plus charisma damage. So a couple of rounds up against your fighter, if it absolutely had to, it could probably drop your fighter into a coma, where it would automatically fail its saves for the Wendigo's real main ability, which is Wendigo Psychosis, which is a curse. And if you fail your save, you are overcome by the all-consuming need to eat the flesh, to kill and devour another sentient creature of your own race. And after you've completed that act, the afflicted individual takes off at a sprint, and in 1d4 rounds sprints up into the sky as though affected by windwalk at such a speed that his feet burn away into jagged stumps. And the transformation into a Wendigo takes 2d6 minutes as the victim windwalks across the sky. Once the transformation is complete, the victim is effectively dead, replaced by a new Wendigo. And this is where it says, true resurrection, miracle, or wish can restore such a victim to life, yet doing so does not harm the new Wendigo. So basically, the curse creates a Wendigo, but doesn't actually turn the person who dies into one, I guess, is sort of what happens. And they have a couple of ways of inflicting this condition on you, this Wendigo Psychosis. They can either do it by grappling and windwalking with the person, because if you can't make your saves to get out of the grapple and you're exposed, if you're forced to like windwalk with this insane creature for more than, I think it's like 1 or 2 rounds, you're afflicted by Wendigo Psychosis if you fail to save. And the other way is with an ability called Dream Haunting. A Wendigo can use Nightmare on any sleeping creature. And when they do, that person is not only affected to the Nightmare spell, but they are also exposed to Wendigo Psychosis. And those are like the big features of the Wendigo. They're a really high CR monster, but they're really not scary in combat. They can take a bit of a beating because they do have fairly high DR and they do have regeneration. However, they're vulnerable to the most common damage effect in the game, which is fire, and that fire damage also kills the regeneration for a round. They have ways of controlling the battlefield, like control weather, which uses their caster level. Their hit dice is their caster level, and they cast like a druid. And their only other ability is called Howl, which is 3 times per day as a standard action. The Wendigo can emit a forlorn howl that can be heard up to a mile away, and anyone who hears it has to make a DC 28 will save to avoid becoming shaken, and that's if you're within a mile of it. If you're within 120 feet, you're panicked for 1d4 plus 4 rounds, so a minimum of 5 rounds, you're just sprinting in the opposite direction. And those within 30 feet cower in fear for 1d4 rounds. Effectively, well, not effect. They don't become helpless if you're cowering in fear, but you can't take any actions but to huddle, which is just as bad.
Yeah, I
But
will.
if you're dead set. Sorry, go ahead.
the only time I've used it was that one time where you guys saw something in the sky in before we started recording in Beginnings and Endings over the Anulami Empire, and it was a one of you made the check to know that it was a Wendigo or something close to that, and
Yeah, we almost came across it in the woods, and we were like level 9 or something, and you scared the shit out of us with it.
yes. But I will say that if someone wants to know how this creature is really reminiscent of a story by Algernon Blackwood called the Wendigo or Wendigo. So if you want to know how he incorporated it into a story to help your campaign, that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, they're definitely. I think they're really flavorful monsters because they're not. I don't know. I don't think they have this ability in Pathfinder, but I know in older editions, like in 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons, they used to have an ability. I can't remember the name of it. It was like peripheral existence or something, where you could, unless you had some sort of magic means to view a Wendigo, you could only ever see it out of the corner of your eye. And they're like, I think they're really flavorful monsters because they're not something that's going to attack the party head on. They're going to show up. They're going to use control weather to create a blizzard. They're going to run away, and then they're going to follow your party for, days or weeks or months or like however long it takes for you to deal with it or to drive all of you insane.
It's nice. It's nice for freaking out the party. Especially if they just think that the howl is from some other beast. Then it gets really fun. Describe nightmares for them? Ooh! Yeah.
Alright. And that's everything I have for the Wendigo. I don't actually have a CR18. I didn't really find anything in the CR18 on the SRD site that I liked. I completely forgot there were different things in the archives of Nethys, but that was like right when we started, so I don't have time now, so I'm not worried about it. So I'm just going to skip to CR19, and what I have for CR19 is the Humbaba, which is a mythical figure from Mesopotamian lore that features, I believe, primarily in the Saga of Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. He's a demigod or like son of a demigod that like lives in the forest, and it was all of the stories about like he protected the woods so the Mesopotamians couldn't take wood from places. I'm bad at history. But Humbaba in Pathfinder is a chaotic neutral colossal monstrous humanoid. He's described in the Epic of Gilgamesh as an enormous lion-headed man with bestial hands and like a face like entrails, from which you could discern the future. Weird old janky mythos. He's got dark vision, true seeing, a really high perception bonus. He's got a prismatic aura, which I'll get into in a second because everyone loves dealing with prismatic effects. He's got all the stuff you want in a big bruiser character, with, I think, again, the exception of combat reflexes. But he doesn't. I mean, he has a dexterity of 16, so he would benefit from it. But I don't think it's as necessary as Joseph and Tommy like to believe. He does have awesome blow, cleave, critical focus, improved bull rush, improved critical on his longsword, improved initiative, intimidating prowess, iron will, power attack, staggering, critical, vital strike. So he's gonna hit you. He's gonna hit you probably more than once because he's got a bunch of iteratives because he's a full base attack progression monster type, and he's gonna do a substantial amount of damage when he does hit you, on like an expanded crit range of 17 to 20. Not as bad as you could give him a scimitar and make it really gnarly, but that's up to you. He has a breath weapon, which is 20d6 fire damage. Again, the most common damage type in the game. You probably have something that resists it, but even so, you're still taking, half of that every 1d4 rounds. Because it's a 60-foot cone. He's going to hit ideally more than one of you, pretty much no matter what. He's got rock throwing, which is 2d8 plus 22 damage if you get slugged by a boulder. He's under the effects of constant true seeing. He can use Greater Shout 3 times per day, and once per day he can use Destruction, Earthquake, or Power Word Stun. I don't remember if there's a hit point limitation on Power Word Stun, but he's got a CMD of 58. You're not gonna knock him over. It's not gonna happen. You can try. That's your turn, Bo. And the Prismatic Aura is as a swift action once per day. Humbaba can activate its Prismatic Aura. Doing so causes a brilliant light to radiate from Humbaba in a radius of 30 feet. Each round at the start of Humbaba's turn, roll 1d8 and consult the table of Prismatic Spray to determine the color and effect of the light. Reroll resulting of 8. Reroll results of 8, I should say. If a creature begins its turn in the Prismatic Aura's area, it must make the appropriate saving throw, DC 26, against that effect. Once activated, Humbaba's Prismatic Spray lasts for 7 rounds, which means for 7 rounds of combat, which is longer than most combats last, to get within striking distance of him, you're going to have to step into that Prismatic Aura, and every round you're going to have to make a DC 26 saving throw of some variety to avoid a bunch of typed energy damage, or being teleported to another plane of existence, or being turned to stone, or whatever other nasty garbage Prismatic Spray does.
That sounds like some kind of beholder.
A little bit, only it's an aura instead of eye stalks. He does normally have a movement speed of 60 feet, but he's wearing like half plate. He's wearing big, heavy armor. He's got an AC of 34, which isn't insurmountable at this CR, but is like, if you're not a full base attack progression class, you might have a little difficulty hitting him. He does have fast healing 10, which can't be overcome. He's got good spell resistance for his level, sitting at 30, and he is immune to blindness, death effects, fire, and sonic damage. So he is immune to the most common damage type in the game. So on top of being able to knock people around with Awesome Blow, hit multiple people, if you group together with Cleave, the expanded crit range of his sword, the improved Bull Rush, and the intimidating prowess, not that intimidation ever seems to really work on PCs, and the power attack, which gives him, I think, something like 66 plus 27 on damage, which is nothing to turn your nose up at. He's a big boy. He's a big, muscly boy.
Yeah.
And that's what I have from Humbaba.
All right. I definitely like those effects that are constant and passive each round, like the auras that are good auras, like this one, because you can vary up the saves. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I might have forgotten I'm pretty sure the Wendigo has like a frightful presence thing.
Okie dokie. Now who's next?
Speaking of auras.
Yeah. Donald, you are next.
My first pick, it's a demon that I have used in a campaign before. The Little Sue. This is like a higher version of a CR version of a succubus, pretty much. So you have pretty much the same thing as a succubus, pretty much. You have all the normal DRs, immunities. Its AC is pretty good for being a medium-sized creature, 34. So a full BAP hitter can hit this easily enough, but a middle to low BAP fighter will have a problem hitting it. It have a pretty good flat-footed AC, touch AC, saves across the board is pretty good. Hit points to about 270 if you don't max the hit points. It have evasion, which is pretty nice, especially for the casters using spells. Just like the succubus, it had the profane powers, which is quite nice if the GM wants to use the profane bonus somehow to a player as a reward. The creature have constant fly, tongues, true seeing, unholy aura, And the rest of these spells, unless you alter to fit the individual lizard demon, it's more of dominate and trying to control creatures, such as charm monster, detect thoughts, suggestion, charm monster, dominate monster. So the saves are relatively high, above 22, so someone needs to fail a natural one. Eventually, especially if a party member is a monster type, then Dominate Monster is great to use for that purpose. But you could easily have other charm-based spells in there. Just like the Galabrazoo, it have a unique power, Wish, only granted to humanoids only. The stats, it is anywhere between 21 up to 30, so it's pretty good in that area. So if you want to throw class levels onto it, it can fulfill any role for the most part. But generally, I find more leadership roles classes work best, such as clerics, rogues, swashbucklers, or anything of like that to take advantage of all of its stats. It have a pretty good CMB of plus 25, CMD 49, so unless someone built to counter CMDs, you're not going to be tripping this creature. The good thing that I like about it have 4 claws attacks in a turn doing 2d8 plus 8, and you have a plus 25 modifier to hit, so you're going to hit something most of the time. This creature, it have a power which I like. It is touch attack plus 20, so they're going to hit most targets touch AC. It's 26 plus 4, and you have to make a saving throw not to be affected by the brand. If you get enough brands on you, then the effects are pretty bad. Let me just put in chat what they are. So 1, 2, 3, you are affected as per. You have 4 to 6. You take a penalty to saving throws when it came to Lilia's spell-like ability. 7 to 9, your wisdom modifier is reduced, and then 10 and more. It's just going to get worse and worse until you're pretty much going to be failing all of your throws, saving throws against this Lezu, which is quite nice for the spells they can do. It have the Great Husk, which is a unique power it can do. Husk Link, if you want to use it for divination purposes to know what is going on around the husk. Profane Grace. The Profane, you get a +4 stat bonus to a creature of your choice. Is willing to take the brand. And then it had the Swift Claws attack, which is quite nice for doing the amount of damage that I need to do. This monster I like, as it is a shape-shifting demon that you can use in your campaigns from low level to high level, effectively knowing the party in and outs when they first encounter the party, and can easily change their form as need be, as each Lizu demon, based upon which demon lord they serve, they take a unique appearance, such as a Dagon Lizu looks different from a Pazuzu, and etc. So you can have fun with these demons, as they generally are out for themselves type of demons that will serve a demon lord for their own end. And then for my CR18 creature, it is the Kraken. This creature, it's a pretty much a simple bruiser type of monster that you would use in a sea combat encounter. Its AC is 32, with the Lezu AC being pretty good, hittable still. The Kraken touch AC is terrible, have a good amount of hit points. The fortitude save is fantastic, while its saves are not that great. It have immunity to cold, mind affecting effects, poison. So that is some immunities aquatic creatures have, especially magical creatures at certain CRs. It have a fantastic swim speed, and if you use the jet, it can move feet. The way I would use a Kraken in a sea combat is to destroy the ship or damage it severely with the rend ship feature it have. The ink cloud, the jet ability, and the tentacle grapple. If you use them in a seafaring combat, you are going to affect the party in more ways than one, unless if they can fix the ship somehow. It have a 2 arms attack, plus 26 to hit, doing a okay damage to 2d6 plus 10. And then the tentacles, it's plus 24 to hit, 1d8 plus 5. But the arms and the tentacles, it have a grapple attack feature. So plus 38 against most CMDs by this point. Someone is going to be up in the air, and I'm sure someone would probably think of, if Paul was here, he would probably make a joke about tentacles, probably.
I need to weigh in on this one because this was my CR18 and I have a lot to say about it. I'm not trying to like take your thunder, but Krakens, the way you use them is that's 10 grapples, and 2 of those grapples have a reach of 60 feet. So like you're gonna grab a dude, and once you grab the party, the thing about, and I'm totally stealing your thunder, but this was my pick, and now I have to suddenly get a new CR18.
Well,
I've used this. These guys have been like all over my campaigns as like, shoot it in the eye and it will go away, but oh, your ship is dead. Whoops. What you do is you grab the players, grab the party, and the Kraken doesn't gain the grappled condition when it grabs somebody. So then you use jet as a 4-round action to go 280 feet just straight down into the water with the party, and they're probably going to take a round or 2 to get out of there. So 280 times, however many times, just down with the party, especially if they're not prepped for underwater when they're suddenly like 1,500 feet below the surface of the water, and they have a swim speed of none, and they have no ranks in swim. They are dead. DED. That kills the party. Is really, really, really powerful. And rant.
I was going to touch upon that, but yeah, it have control weather, control winds, dominate monster, resist energy, and if you use the sea to your advantage, you can easily pick one party member off after another, just by making them drown to death, effectively.
This is why everybody wants an
my
airship.
CR19 monster. And then my CR19 monster, it's a simple one. It's the Adamitin Golem. Its AC is okay, 33. Touch AC is bad, just like the Kraken. It hit points is pretty good, 200. Half fast, CO 10, so nothing can affect this. It have the indestructible power, so killing them is impossible if you don't have a Adamite Vorpal weapon or using Miracle or Wish spell. So killing these things are a task upon itself unless you prepare to fight them properly. It have DR15 Adamite / Epic if you use those struck traits. And to magic, just like most golems are. It doesn't do them much attacks in a turn. It's only just 2 slam attacks, plus 41. That's going to hit most ACs by this point, doing 6d10 plus 13 damage on a crit. That is a lot of damage to, especially if you can use the golem effectively to divide and conquer the party to kill the casters off quickly. Doing about, let's say, maximum damage on average, about over 100 damage. Someone is going to die in a turn for sure with that amount of damage. The creature, the only spells that is not immune affected differently. It is from transmute metal to have a nature magic user in the party. They can still hurt this thing. So yes, Adamite golems, they're fun to use because they're a nice big meat shield that you cannot kill properly to fight them. And yeah, those are my 3 picks. I enjoyed using 2 of the 3 monsters in my campaign so far.
All right. Okay, Tommy, we'll let you go before I finish us off.
Alrighty, good, because I just picked my CR18 again, and it's still all 3 of these monsters are monsters that I've had the pleasure of using / adapting. It's awkward. We'll talk about it here in a sec, but I'm noticing a theme that I didn't think about because I've dealt with it with the Kekatar. I've never fought a Humbaba, but I'm seeing a very repetitive theme of, are you bored with your campaign? Tired of just smacking through things? Let's do something crazy. And a lot of these monsters are pretty much the same thing. They're the same theme anyway. I guess I'll close my Kraken tab now. Where is my first tab? Okay, so my CR17 monster it's a monster. It's also a place to be. You can adventure there. I can't tell you everything that's going on there because it spoils Reign of Winter. But my CR17 pick is the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. This is Baba Yaga's familiar, therefore it gets all of the buffs that a familiar would receive. Let me grab you a link, Adam, because I use the Archives of Nethys for all my fun stuff. There it is. Baba Yaga casts as a witch, but has access to, I think, pretty much every spell in Pathfinder, and she can deliver them through her familiar, her hut. Of course, that definitely probably takes the CR17 and just, boom, now you're in epic levels. But regardless, in and of itself, you can actually enter this thing, and I've used it, I won't say incorrectly. I went off book for the AP to use the Dancing Hut as a means of like bouncing through the planes, because that's what Baba Yaga does with it. It's in the second book of Reign of Winter, if you feel like spoiling what's actually in there and what it does and stuff. But without all of that, it's still like, essentially, this is a giant house that has chicken legs. And it runs around and it kicks you for pretty good. It's 2d6 plus 13 plus grab. And when it grabs you, it can swallow you whole in such a way that the door opens, and then it throws you in the house, essentially, is what goes on. When this happens, you end up, the inside of the hut, I will say, is an extra dimensional space. So it's not like, this thing is, huge, I think? Yeah. This thing takes up a 3x3 on the board, but inside it takes up a demi-plane, essentially. It's not necessarily dangerous to get swallowed up by the Dancing Hut, but if like Baba Yaga's waiting there, or like one of her riders, or like a frost giant Jarl or something inside, yeah, probably super bad. You can attempt to escape, but the door has hardness of 15 and 100 hit points, and the hut has fast healing. Not like, that sounds like Java. The Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga has fast healing, how much? I forget. It's 20. So it takes a lot of effort to get through there. It can also, like, the hut can throw you, the Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga, I keep thinking Java every time I say that, but it can just block you out the front door as a full round action. If you don't want to leave, it's a CMB. Otherwise, you get, thrown out of a house. And if, like, you don't know where you are when you're in this extra dimensional space, and then this thing, like, moves to the edge of the cliff, and there you go, like, tumbling off to your not really death in one. I'm really thinking about taking Pathfinder's 2nd edition's fall damage rules moving forward, because falls should kill you, and it shouldn't be you fall 100 feet and just, ow! Cure light wounds. But regardless, it's wherever you want to throw them.
But Magpie wouldn't be able to be amazing.
The thing's got evasion, it's got DR over adamantine, it's got construct traits, it's immune to gaze attacks because it's a house with legs, no eyes. It's immune to visual effects, it's immune to illusions, it's got a pretty respectable SR. It can cast Dimensional Anchor and cast Dimension Door. You imagine, like, this thing could keep the party and then just Dimension Door 3 times a day somewhere else. Or, like, Dimension Door into the air. It has freedom of movement at will, so just up we go. Now I have freedom of movement. Goodbye, party, as they all just, like, fall out the front door of a house, kind of like Wicked Witch of the West style, I guess, to their inevitable demise. My CR18 was going to be the Kraken because I love Krakens. They're, in my opinion, the king of the sea in terms of what they can do, how they attack, and Like, it's just really fun to be like, okay, you're 1,000 feet below the surface of the water. I swim up 30, and we just like tick down the con checks until you eventually drown. But I have used another aquatic creature for an encounter at CR18, and that one is Bestiary 5, I think, right? Yes, it is the Bone Ship from Bestiary 5. I like this thing a lot because there's nothing like, I mean, paladins aside, there's nothing saying that this is a monster so much as this might be like a cleric of Urgathoa with too much time on their hands, built a ship from bone, and away you go down the sea. That's essentially what's going on here. It's like a bunch of bones put together to build this ship. There's muscles holding them together, rotting sails hanging from the mast, the whole 9 yards. But, okay, it's an intelligent undead. I had to double check. The thing I like the most about this thing is it has an ability called Bone Cannon, which allows it, like, in its attack block, its ranged is 4 bone cannons plus 15, 6d6 plus 16. And the reason I like it, I had to like do some double triple reading when I used it, but I had a party and we've like poked fun at one of the characters in that party and lowered the caliber, but they decided they were going to swim under the water because the cannons were wrecking them. And the character who can swim goes into the water and gets like under the ship to start like doing this and attacking. But another thing about a bone ship is the bone ship as a swift action can cause the cannons to manifest anywhere on the bone ship, up to and including, you know, under it. The bone cannons have a range increment of 100 feet, so they hit probably most of the time, and at that first, like from 0 to 100, it's a touch attack, just like your gunslingers. It can fire all 4 cannons as a standard action, and I didn't read that when I used it, because I was about to say that, well, we have Greater Vital Strike. That's cool. Well, I guess that is still not bad, because that's it comes out to the same math. It doesn't matter. That's what I did, was I Greater Vital Strike, and it's already, that was a lot of d6. It's already 6d6, so that become like, it was like 24 d6 all told, when this person thought they were totally safe, and they went under and just, okay, so the cannon manifests above your head, just, what? Boom. And I don't remember if I killed them, but it's really, really powerful. And again, like, the paladin is not fooled. The cleric probably not fooled, but somebody's gonna be like, oh, it's a boat. Okay, cool. It looks a little spooky, and then bam, you're dead. You've also, if you get within 30 feet of the bone ships, well, no, it's a DC 30. What's my aura? My aura is 40 feet. It's a DC 30 fort save, or you become shaken. Well, you become shaken if you succeed. If you fail, you become shaken and staggered as you start to drown. Well, you feel yourself being drowned, rather. You take an additional -4 to your AC, your reflex saves, your swim checks, and then, like, again, the neg to your AC doesn't matter that much, Kensei aside, when this thing is, most of the time, it has a slam attack, but you're probably just going to shoot them with the cannons.
Yeah, Tommy, the bone ship, it would be even worse if it's a flying ship.
I'm sure you could cast fly on it. Like, if that's what you need to do, if your setting is airships and stuff, just cast fly on the damn thing and off it goes.
I mean, a bone ship and an Ergosaurus spending too much time. That's like a entertaining story just to read how they made it.
You just
Also, this thing,
make
which
it
I believe is...
the Flying Dutchman. There you go.
Yeah. The thing is, size category colossal. It's not small, and if the party decides to board it, and they might think it's like the next dungeon, has a thing called Ghostly Borders, which, like the ghosts of the ship, they all manifest, and it's Circle of Death, cast to level 20th, which is super rough. It can fire negative, and it can fire 18d6 negative energy. So, like, if you have like the zombie captain or something, just pop him in the face, and he's fully healed. If this thing spends a full day inactive, it can heal itself to full by scavenging the bones of the dead lost at sea and all that fun stuff. Again, this thing is just like, it's really powerful, partially because it's vital striking gunslinger magic that can heal itself, partially because some parties won't see it coming. They won't realize that, like, that's an actual intelligent thing. They'll think that it's just like a boat. For 19, what did I have for 19? I had a couple up for 19. I think I'm going to go with, because I'm kind of torn between a couple here. I'll go with, I lied. I haven't used this one yet. I was going to do the Shoggoth, but I think the reason I thought the Shoggoth was good was because I used the Shoggoth against like a party of like level 11 characters. maybe a little higher. But my CR19 is a 3.5 monster from Pathfinders way back in the day. I believe this comes from Legacy of Fire. It's one of the Ozzy, specifically Dahak. And that sounds like, or Zahak, excuse me. It sounds like the god of the evil dragons, and that's kind of what they're going for. It's like between Ariman and Dahak, they spawn this essentially the lord among these abominations of dragon kind, which are kind of like I kind of think of them as like the Uber divs, I guess, because that's kind of what they are. It's got its basic, like, all of your dragon stuff you expect. Its fly speed is clumsy. At this level, most of the dragons can kind of, like, buff things up to, like some dragons will have perfect fly speed. This guy has a bad bad fly speed of clumsy 100 feet. But it has this fun little thing called Cursed to the Earth. Once every minute, as a hawk can rasp a terrible curse that causes any single flying creature or object it can see to plummet to the ground and be unable to fly for the next 10 minutes. It's a DC 29 will save, which is mediocre. You can buff these things. Give it... the thing about Pathfinder's monsters is at the end, it'll always be like, the save DC is this base. This case, it's Charisma. Give him a pretty little headband. Give him his Charisma book. Whatever you need to do. You have parties that like to fly. You have overland flight, and your wizard, you fall. It again in Pathfinder 1E, fall damage isn't it's not amazing sometimes. Like you can definitely fall very, very far and just kind of like brush it off. But it can like it'll bring stuff to the ground to this guy, and that's what we're trying to do. And again, if they fail, they can't take to the air by any means, again, for 10 minutes. Any like if they have another spell, a magic item, some kind of like any other means of making them fly, it fails. Items like they just like not function. The double bad part about this is like if you target like the cavalier who got a griffin or some noise, you like target him, but it's the mount that has to make the save, and then suddenly the mount, which is a key part of some builds, is just plummeting to the earth. Other than that, he's kind of just dragon stuff. He can, once a day, he can wish. And it's always, like, it's one of those wishes that will turn against you. And, like, it'll manifest within a month. And it's, you know how it is. It's whenever you like to screw with the party with the wish spell, this is somebody who does it, like, in his stat block. His breath weapon has poison. So, like, on top of the 18d8 fire, if you're hit by the flames, it's another DC 30 fort save. Or you're poisoned for 2d6 dex, so you're more vulnerable to the poison from the breath weapon and the fire from the breath weapon that comes at you again, over and over and over again. I've never actually, like, I guess I lied a little. I was going to talk about the Shoggoth because I used the Shoggoth. But I would definitely, like, this guy might show up in Lordly Caliber because he's, like, the biggest, fattest div. I'm not entirely sure, maybe. We'll see. Also, if this thing kills you, you come back as a ghoul in 1d4 rounds under the command of the Zahak that are enslaved until the Zahak dies. They lose all their abilities, but I mean, this will just vomit them at the party, vomit them at the town. It's whatever you need to do. It's super good. And yeah, those are my three. These are 66% awesome, 33% probably awesome, can't confirm, didn't use. Take us home, Adam.
All right. Well, the Zahak does sound a lot like Dahak. You are correct. Not just the name, but what he does.
It's even like straight up in the lore, like for Mesopotamian stuff. I'm pretty sure it's Zahak, not Dahak.
There you go. Anyway, so I'm going to cover mine quickly because we are over time. We're at an hour already. So let's do this. My first one is the Rune Giant. This giant's skin is black and pitted, like roughly cast iron, and etched with glowing red runes. Spoiler alert, even though that it's not really a spoiler that a Rune Giant would show up in Rise of the Rune Lords, but they do sometime. So this is... I trust my players not to metagame too hard. So... It's a lawful evil gargantuan...
I already know what they do.
Yeah. It's a lawful evil gargantuan humanoid, low light vision, perception plus 29. Really good as far as that goes. Definitely a nice challenge for someone of lower level. But its HP's okay. I always max HP, so that doesn't really matter. An AC of 30 is not super spectacular, but it is immune to cold, electricity, and fire. So that, again, that most common damage type of fire is useless. Cold, which you would, expect to be the antithesis of the fire, maybe it might work. Nope. And then electricity, which is always the backup damage. If, at least for me, when I'm building something, electricity is kind of the backup damage if fire's not working. But it doesn't have any. It's immune to all that. What I like about this particular one is it has a speed 35 feet, 50 feet without armor, but it has airwalk, like all the time. It can just airwalk. It can walk anywhere. So you're just walking around, minding your own business. I have a whole land of giants in my homebrew, and these guys would probably be just walking through the air, up and down. And these dudes don't like other giants. Well, they do. They like to control them. They were a crossbreed but from taiga and fire giant slaves by ancient wizards. Hint, hint, the Rune Lords. And so on. And giants don't like these dudes, because these dudes have been enchanted to control other giants. Command Giant, a Rune Giant, gains a +4 racial bonus on the save DC of charm or compulsion effects used against giants. That gives you a neat opportunity to set something up to have your players go and fight one of these. But I'm going to let that sit until next time, because I have an encounter idea for that. Its runes that it has on it are can activate when it uses its Spark Shower ability, and that is a standard action. The Rune Giant can cause a shower of sparks to erupt from one of the runes on its body. These sparks function as a breath weapon. So this is a giant with a breath weapon, not bad, and it has airwalk, so it could face a dragon on its own turf simply by walking up to it in the sky. That's kind of pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool anyway. It's 10d6 fire and 10d6 electricity damage. So that's a possible 120 damage on a max. Or just, not. But it's a reflex 29 for half. Usable once every 1d4 rounds. So, again, it's like a breath weapon. And that's fun. There's also different variants, like the Giant Fighter, which makes it with 2 fighter levels, which makes it a CR21, or the Giant Overlord, Rune Giant Overlord, which is a CR21 as well. I like these dudes simply because they have a lot of options in their ecology. They got a lot of information about them. I'm not going to read it all and spoil it all for everybody, and what they do and their treasure and stuff. But they do have giant rune bags that are fun to tempt players with, because they can have interesting things in them. But that is my CR17, and it will be, I will tell you about what I would use it as in the next one. CR18 is the Thray Queen, which is basically like a kind of humanoid bee race. She is a lawful neutral, huge, monstrous humanoid. This towering, shapely, purple-skinned woman has an insectile lower body, antennae on her brow, and the wings of a bee. She's pretty neat if you use her in her home turf, which is how I would use her. She's not the type. She is a Thray Queen. She's not going to be wandering around, or if she is just wandering out and about, something is really wrong with her colony or something like that. Fast healing 10, 312 hit points, so more than than you would expect from necessarily this type of creature, this bee insectoid type of creature, but not so bad. She has some poison, and she's immune to poison and sonic, so You don't see Sonic used much, and poison at this level, if you're trying to poison somebody at this level, good luck with that. She can resist acid for 20, her SR is 29, so it's not bad. She has an axiomatic light axe, but that she can hit pretty well with, plus 35, plus 30, plus 25, plus 20. That's nothing to sneer at. That's hitting, that last one would hit on a crit would hit a AC of 40, so not that bad. And she has a sting of plus 27 plus poison, 2d8 plus 4, 19 to 20 on a crit. Not too bad, and it's 19 to 20 on a crit for her mace as well. She has some special attacks, launch merope, and spawn soldiers. So this stuff, this space, it's kind of like silk stuff that she can either hurt or harm, heal or harm with. So she actually could be used as an NPC, which is how I would use her, is as an NPC, to be either a boon or a foil to the group, depending on what they're doing, the job they're doing, which we would discuss next week. And it's basically a touch attack to either harm or heal a person. And it's a 60-foot line, basically, is how she's using it. All creatures in the area of the effect take 20d8 points of acid damage if she's using it to harm. In addition to that, the creatures would be staggered on a failed save for 1d4 rounds, or if it succeeds on the reflex, just 1 round. So it's going to do something. If she heals all living creatures in the area of effect for 10d8 points of damage. So she can do distance healing, which is not bad if you have her with a lot of her mooks around her, which a queen must have her servants around her, of course. She can also use the merope as a coat. She can cover herself in a thin layer of it, and it acts as a magical barrier between the spells that the cast at her, as though she was constantly under the effects of spell turning, which can be helpful for dealing with wizards.
Did you mean for that to be a pun? I have to ask.
It's always meant to be a pun, whether I mean it to be a pun or not. A spell in... So that's a pretty neat thing for her to have. She also has spawn soldiers 3 times a day as a standard action. So she spawns wasps, which is odd. They may as well just call them bees. That's how I would flavor it. It's a bee swarm instead of a wasp swarm, but whatever. And that's how I would do that. Her sting has that poison of a DC 29. Nothing special for con damage. But for con damage of 1d6, it could be useful at this level. It would really depend. Oh, it's interesting to note that it does not say if this is ability damage or drain in the actual entry, so treat that as you will, DMs. She's the head of the colony. Seers and soldiers are usually what she's got around her. That's what I would use around her. So a Thray soldier and seers, definitely. She did have at least 1 seer and several soldiers, in my opinion. And like I said, I'll discuss more about using her in a minute. Well, next week, not in a minute. CR19. I was gonna highlight the Shoggoth simply because I like Lovecraft, and I just like Lovecraft. It's got a DR of 10. Every hit's doing 10 less damage. It's immune to all the things like blindness, charm effects, cold, deafness, ooze traits, It resists acid, electricity, and fire. It has a spell resistance of 30. It's amorphous, so it can't be crit. All that type of stuff. I like it for the flavor, and I like it because it's just fun to throw out there. That's the only reason I like it. And I probably won't even highlight it much on the encounters, because this thing has an int of 5. It's basically an animal. It's not going to be doing anything super crazy as far as its plans. Its maddening cacophony is its only thing that it's got going for it as a kind of effect to really mess with the party. Even having 4 slams at this level is not going to do much, even if they're all plus 30, because it does do 3d6 plus 15, and it gets a free grab. It's got a 19 to 20 crit range, but I don't know. It's not super awesome in my opinion as far as that goes. It doesn't even have improved anything on that. But the engulf is fun, and the maddening cacophony is fun because it does wisdom damage. And oddly enough, even though perception is super important in Pathfinder, wisdom is not usually the highest stat of anybody unless they are a monk or a druid, sometimes a cleric. It will all depend on how the cleric's built. But that's not bad. That means over a good deal of your group is only going to have a mediocre score in that, because it's not one that usually gets buffed a lot, unless you're one of those classes. So, there you go. And that is my highlighting of the Shoggoth. I did forget to mention that the Thray Queen, for the Vermin Lord, this is who he finally journeys to meet. And for those keeping track of what I was trying to build into with the Vermin Lord, this is who he goes to finally meet. His tutor sends him off to eventually meet the great controller of all the insects, because that's what he's into, and she can do that. So there you go.
Adam, one of these days you have to do a one-shot and use the Vermin Lord as a
Ping.
Adam, you have to use the Vermin
As a
Lord.
ping.
You have to use a Vermin Lord in a one-shot one of these days. You build him up, and I want to see how would you make him.
I'm sure he wouldn't be very viable. Pathfinder doesn't have awesome rules for their vermin controlling people, but you never know. And he's a mite, so he's just a mite underpowered. I'm just throwing that out there. But
One of my favorite underpower races, it is a kobold. They're fun race to use.
Yeah,
So-
but statistically, they're awful.
statistically, they are awful. And that rounds us out.
Yes.
So, I hope everyone had a good time watching us. Hoped that they liked our selections and our highlights. We will use them next week on Tommy's channel for our encounters that we're going to do. So, is there anything else that we need to go over, guys, before we sign off?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I don't think so.
I think we did it.
Okay. Well, then thank you, travelers, and do come again to the Planar Crossroads or Black Dragon Gaming, wherever you find yourself. Have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.